Hey folks, welcome back to the Sedgwick Jimmy channel. We're certainly glad to see you, and today we're going to be discussing the Lincoln County War, fought back in 1878 in the New Mexico Territory. Some of you may know it as how Billy the Kid got famous, others because of the movie Young Guns, but it was a rather interesting conflict, so let's just get right into it. First and foremost, I need to go ahead and set the scene here. In the 1870s, New Mexico was still a territory. It actually was a territory for 62 years, from 1850 until it became a state in 1812. Lincoln County was controlled by Lawrence Murphy and James Dolan, both Irish Catholics and owners of L.G. Murphy and Company, the only store/bank in the county. They were known for charging high prices due to having no competition, and seeing as they controlled the bank, they also controlled the mortgages on most ranches and, also due to their high prices, loans to most of the citizenry. They also owned exclusive contracts to provide cattle for the government. Basically, they owned the town, including its sheriff, William Brady, and they ran it as their own little kingdom. The people of Lincoln County tended to refer to their operation simply as the House. Then came the arrival of an Englishman named John Tunstall, who partnered with a lawyer named Alexander McSween and a prominent rancher named John Chisholm. They opened up a competing store and bank offering much lower prices and better financial terms. This really did not go well with the House, and more importantly, it didn't make the people in charge of the House very happy, and that's the Santa Fe Ring. Led by the Attorney General of the New Mexico Territory, the Ring basically controlled the entire territory, and when their profits took a hit from the Lincoln County monopoly being broken up, you better believe they took notice. So we have these bubbling tensions between the established House and the upstart Tunstall, but what really started the push to war was all an insurance policy, the life insurance policy of Emil Fritz. See, after Fritz's death, the executors of his estate hired McSween to collect the money. However, seeing as the money would be turned over to the House in order to pay debts, and seeing as McSween was in direct competition with the House, he refused to turn the money over. This led the House to bring in gangs of hired guns, such as the Seven Rivers Warriors and the Jesse Evans gang, and they mostly harassed the Tunstall faction. They rustled some of their cattle and overall just caused discomfort, I guess is the best way to put it. Because of this, Tunstall hired his own men to act as guards and hired guns, including Dick Brewer and William Bonney, also known as Billy the Kid. Eventually, in February of 1878, a court order was obtained to seize McSween's assets. However, in error, they also included Tunstall's assets as well. When Brady went out with a posse in order to collect the assets from Tunstall, and by collect assets I mean to kill John Tunstall ended up dead. Now, by most accounts, Tunstall surrendered and was then executed on the spot. His death was witnessed by several of his own men who were on a hill rise above and couldn't do anything to help. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the event that started the Lincoln County War. Soon afterward, many locals came together with Tunstall's hired men and created what was known as the Regulators. Originally led by Dick Brewer, they included the Coe brothers, Charlie Baldre, Jose Chavez y Chavez, Frank McNabb, and Doc Scurlock. A quick aside here, Doc Scurlock was really something else. He was actually played by Kiefer Sutherland in Young Guns, but he was quite a bit different in real life. Back in 1870, he went down to Mexico, and during an argument over a card game, he was shot. Though in a case of both the best luck ever and the worst luck ever, the bullet took out only a few of Scurlock's teeth and exited through his neck, causing little damage. He then shot the man. Yeah, sorry, just a little cool story there. Alright, moving on. The Regulators were deputized, and Brewer was made town constable by the Justice of the Peace, and they were tasked with bringing to justice the killers of John Tunstall. Soon after, they captured two of the men responsible, executing them, as well as one of their own men who they believed to be a traitor. This caused the territorial governor to invalidate everything the Justice of the Peace had done, making the Regulators outlaws. Less than a month later, a group of Regulators, including Brewer and Bonney, ambushed Sheriff Brady and his deputies, killing Brady and one of his deputies as well. Now, 3 days after this, as the Regulators were eating at a trading post known as Blazer's Mill, a man by the name of Buckshot Roberts came into play. Now, Buckshot wanted nothing to do with the war, and had even sold off his ranch with plans to move away, and he had only come to Blazer's Mill in order to collect the money that he was owed for the sale of the ranch. Now, he wasn't involved in the conflict, he wasn't a member of either side, but he did in the past work for the House, and he was actually included in the warrants for the men wanted for the murder of John Tunstall. And Buckshot just wanting to get his money from the ranch buyer and get out of town, felt kind of threatened when he was approached by several regulators and a gunfight ensued. During the gunfight, Skurlock was wounded, George Coe lost his trigger finger, and both Buckshot Roberts and Dick Brewer were killed. They ended up being buried next to each other. It's kind of a little poetic justice there. After Brewer's death, Frank McNabb took over as the leader, though less than a month later he was killed in a shootout with the Seven Rivers Warriors, which led to Doc Skurlock taking over as their third and final leader. Remember, it's the rule of three, people, the rule of three. Over the next month, the Regulators took out their revenge on the Warriors, killing a good number of them, including the man responsible for McNabb's death. On July 15th, the Regulators headed into Lincoln with McSween, some of them staying at his house, others staying throughout the town. However, a large force hired by the house surrounded the McSween home, and a gunfight ensued that lasted until an Army cavalry unit arrived on the 18th to quell the chaos. At some point that night, the McSween house was set on fire, allowing most of the Regulators to escape, though McSween himself was shot and killed. And with his death, so ended the Lincoln County War. Only fitting that it started with the death of Tunstall and ended with the death of McSween. I guess you could say you should always bet on the house. Ha ha ha, yeah. And after the war, things just kind of went back to normal. A new governor was brought in to crack down on the lawlessness and corruption, and the Regulators disbanded. Some continued on as outlaws, some went straight, but their time as Regulators was over. And with the end of the war comes the end of this video. We certainly hope you liked it, and if you did like it, why don't you give us a like? If you want to see more, why don't you give us a subscribe? If you have anything to add or any ideas for future videos, why don't you let us know down in the comments? We thank you for watching, and why don't you come on back here to the Sedgwick Jimmy channel for more in the future. Come check it out.